Hi everyone, in this video series we're going to talk about a bubble sort algorithm, and this is a very commonly used technique to sort arrays. And the word algorithm is really, you can think of that as a recipe for solving a problem. Okay, for example, a real life example, let's say it's somebody's birthday and I don't have a cake, so I'm going to go to the store, get the ingredients, and then follow very specific instructions in a very specific order, mixing the batter, putting it in the oven, and so on and so forth, in order to solve the problem of getting that person a cake. So an algorithm is that. It's a solution for a problem that involves a series of steps. It doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of complex mathematical concept, although it can be, but I think that's, when students hear that word, that's immediately where their mind goes, and that's not necessarily the case. And in this case, we are using an algorithm to solve a problem. The problem is my array is not sorted, and I want to put this array in order. So we'll use our dwarfs and coal example, and we'll leave the dwarfs out of it for now. We have the pounds of coal array, and we want to put this array in ascending order, meaning the lowest values will be at the top and the highest values will be at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to sort the array in ascending order. We use a bubble sort to do this. And here we'll leave the code out of it until the next video, but really the mechanism here is we're going to loop through the array. You know how to do that. And basically we're going to start at the top of the array and compare the value at hand, in this case 10, to the one beneath it or after it, in this case 7. And if the value at hand, the 10, is greater than the one after it, which is 7, which is the case here, then we're going to switch those values. Okay, so what would happen is after that first iteration through the loop, this is what we would end up with. Okay, now moving on. Now this is the current value because I started at the top of the array and now I'm moving on. We're just going to loop through the array like you're accustomed to doing. And now we're on the second value. We're going to compare him to the one after him. Okay, if they're out of order, if this is greater than this, because we're interested in, the lower values at the top. So if he's greater than the one beneath him, then they are out of order and we're going to swap them or switch them. So we'll do that as well. Okay, now moving on here to the third element in the array, I'm going to compare him to the one after him. If he's greater than the one after him, I'm going to switch them. Well, in this case, he's not, so we're leaving them alone. All right, now moving on to the next one, I'm comparing to the 11 to the one after him. Is he greater than the one after him? Yes, he is, so we're going to switch them around. Okay, moving on to the next one. Is he greater than the one after him? No, he's not. We're going to leave them alone. And then moving on to this one here, compare him to the one after him. Is he greater? Yes, he is, so we're going to switch them. Now, very importantly, when we get down to the bottom here, there is no next element. So you have to be careful when you're looping through an array during a bubble sort. You're not going to go loop for the number of elements in the array. You will always loop the number of elements minus 1 because that last element doesn't have one next to him for comparison. So it's always, if there are X number of elements in the array, you're always going to set up your loop to go X minus 1 times. Okay, and we'll see that again when we write the code. I'll bring that up again. So we have looped through the entire array, and you probably noticed that it's not sorted top to bottom. Okay, the thing is, with the bubble sort, one pass, we call that a pass through the array, going through one time and switching the values if necessary. One pass through the array is not going to cut it. Okay, you have to go several passes through the array. So it was a loop to get through the array one time, but we have to do that several times. In fact, if the array is X number of elements, we have to do it X minus 1 times. Or in this case, the array is 7 elements, so we're going to have to do that whole thing 6 times. If we do that whole thing 6 times, I'm not going to do it here, but you get the idea. What I just did, if I did that again 6 times, then it would be sorted. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is a nested loop, because what you just saw me go through, that was one loop, but we have to do it 6 times, so it's going to be a loop inside of a loop. So that's really the mechanism behind the bubble sort, and it's called a bubble sort because you can see, you know, the values are kind of the lighter values, or the lower values that we're interested in, or the values that you're interested in, kind of make their way to the top slowly, bubbling to the surface. So in the next video, we will start looking at the code.